Hello everyone, welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training. I'm Richard Carlton, creator of fmtraining.tv, where every day, Monday through Friday at 1 o'clock Pacific time, we are talking about the FileMaker platform, how to make it better, learning things we didn't know already, sometimes things that we've known and we've forgotten. Sometimes folks like you are helping me, show me cool things you're doing. It inspires me. So if I can inspire you sometimes, you can inspire me. It's great. It's the whole point of what we're doing here today. So today we're talking about some really cool topics, some active open directory kind of related stuff. Before we get to that, what I'm going to do is talk about the upcoming broadcast schedule. So this is fmtraining.tv. If you can actually spell that out on a browser, you get a page that looks a lot like this. You go to fmtraining.tv. You can look at the major buttons right here. We have the live training and click on that. See the upcoming broadcast schedule. Today and tomorrow we're talking about single sign-on, and the single sign-on tool that we're using is Active Directory with Azure, not in the on-prem Active Directory, the old school Active Directory. We're using the online cloud service for Azure AD with this specifically. And a lot of you are going to want to ask a lot of questions that'll be off topic that, you know, it's kind of like asking like, hey, let's talk about Amazon AWS services, right? There's only hundreds and hundreds of services, and you could spend every day talking about them and never get to all of them. So we're going to be focusing the conversation on using Active Directory to do single sign-on to make things easier for us. And we're going to cover all that in great detail today and tomorrow, because it's really kind of, I expect a lot of questions. I hope for a lot of questions. And I want to make sure that Margaret and I are actually watching, making sure we're getting all your questions done, which is great. I'm going to pop out the conversation on Twitch. So I have the Twitch window up, and then I'm going to go over to YouTube and make sure. So we're broadcasting on 3 different services simultaneously. We're broadcasting on Twitch, Discord, and YouTube, so you can watch whatever one you want to watch. And so welcome Michelle Gravel and Lynn on YouTube. I'm going to pop out the chat there so I can keep an eye on your questions. And then Margaret and I will be doing questions along with Jacob Taylor. Will be helping with the demo. And once again, please ask questions. Make sure that we're all on the same page. This is really good content. This is not a heavily tested topic in the FileMaker certification test. I think there might be 1 question or 2 questions on single sign-on. It's not enough to really, if you took a test and you saw 1 question on it, that would be the most you'd see for the certification test. So it's really not something to terribly worry about. Oh, as a reminder though, however, an important reminder, we're going to be doing upcoming training certification stuff. If you want the best bundle deal, the best deal on our upcoming training, make sure you have a current subscription, right? Some of you get it comped, etc. Some of you pay for this. It depends on who you are. Like Larry the Marine should get it for free, basically. At any rate, because we do, if you're retired or out of the, you're a firefighter, Army officer, or Marine, any sort of, you got out of the U.S. military, veterans kind of thing, then we kind of give this stuff to you for free. But outside of that, most of us have to pay for it. This is our complete training packages. Really good material. This is the fmtrain.tv. It's our slideshow. Jacob Taylor's there. He can unmute himself if he wants to yell at us a little bit along the way. The goal is to bring,
definitely yell enthusiastically.
Yell enthusiastically, right? So the goal is to bring everyone on the same page here with what we're talking about. What we are talking about today is the idea that you're going to, if you go into FileMaker and you say, real simple here, I'm going to make this very basic for everyone here. When you bring up a credential, like I'm going to bring up a file, like I'm going to bring up my CMS file, and I'm going to hold the Option key down. See this dialog right here? We are, at the most essential level today, what we are talking about is, instead of having a username and password in each file, we're going to use a third-party service to abstract out the username and password and really the management of that person to a third-party service who is much better and able to do it than Claris is able to do it within their product. And so the idea is that username and password, these are things that go into the FileMaker file. What if you could sign on with another option here? And you would see like an option like Microsoft or Google or AWS. You can log in. Like if you go to Pinterest and you go to, for example, you want to do Pinterest, you can say create a username and password, or they say use your Facebook credential or use your Google credential, right? So there's a couple services where I use my Google credential to do that. And it's the same idea. You sign on with this kind of security authority, right? This idea that they're going to manage the security, they're going to do two-factor authentication, they're going to look to see if you were in California, but suddenly you're in New York, or you're in Europe or Australia someplace, and how could you move that fast? It's probably not the same person, so there's someone trying to hack your credentials, things like that. This gets kind of back to ransomware and things like that. But the two-factor authentication, could you prove that you are who you are? Let's send a code to your phone, and you put the code in, then you're good. Well, imagine being able to do that with FileMaker. It's all fairly doable, but it's interacting with these third-party services is a bit tricky. In the current product of FileMaker today, which is FileMaker 19.3. whatever, it doesn't matter, 19.3, there are three basic service providers that provide this. Amazon, which is AWS, Google, right, and or Microsoft Azure. So these are three online cloud services. Additionally, if you have an on-prem system where you're using Active Directory, the Microsoft, you have a Windows shop, a Microsoft shop, which we are not, but you have a Windows shop, and all the computers have what they have, a domain controller. Domain controller is a computer that's running, whatever software from Microsoft, and it has a list of all the users in it and all their passwords. And so when you get on a computer on their network, it could be your computer or it could be someone else's computer, and it's logged off, you can log on with your credentials. When you put that in, it doesn't check the computer. It goes to the server. The server says, yeah, that person's authorized. You can let them in. And here's maybe a folder of their documents that they have. So you could actually potentially hot swap around the office to different computers, right? There's a lot of different things this technology allows you to do. Well, Active Directory has been around for a long time, but to really, really use it, you had to be a Microsoft shop. I know that Apple had an open directory kind of competing thing that, to my knowledge, never really took off. And that's because Microsoft's enterprise and Apple makes iPhones and iPods and entertainment. That's kind of always been their thing, right? And so Apple has a very specific vision of who they are and what they are. And enterprise is not something they really care about. They like to sell the enterprise because nothing makes them happier to sell an extra 5,000 iPads or 10,000 iPads to Boeing or Toyota or whatever. It doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, they're not really an enterprise shop, and that's where Microsoft got famous. It cut its teeth. It's the enterprise, right? And so this whole domain controlling Active Directory stuff, it's been around for a while, but now it's online. So if it's online in the cloud, can we communicate it with FileMaker? So one more time. The idea with the current this live stream is about 19.3.2. In a future version of FileMaker, I think they've announced this. Claris has announced it. They should have announced it. That in 19.4 they're going to open this up to some other single sign-on online services. Right? It doesn't matter if that was even coming out tomorrow because we let our software. We don't always use the first people to use the software from Claris. You want to let it air out. You want to make sure it's going to work before you start adopting it with customers. So at any rate, this single sign-on is a big deal. It's becoming more of a big deal because you really need good security to protect your files. So let's talk about this real quick with this. So the assumptions in today's conversation are that you have a team of 5 or 10 FileMaker people at least 5 to 10, if not more people who use FileMaker. And the reason I'm saying this assumption is because this is where this becomes useful for you. And you have more than one FileMaker FMP12 file. If you have 5 users or 8 or 10 users and you have a single FileMaker file on your FileMaker server, do you need this technology? You probably don't have to use it, right? But like in the case of RCC, we've kind of really resisted using this, and we're starting to use it now, but we have 30 plus people and probably 50, 80, 100 FileMaker files that we're interacting with on a routine basis. And so the security and the uptake of the security of those files is challenging. And so let's talk about that. So this is a screenshot of one of our databases. And this is every user has an entry in the database, username, password, entry. And then we give them a privilege set over here, right? So this is all part of the security conversation. If you'd like to know more about security, check out our online training right here. We have the online training. Go to fmtrain.tv right here. Very simple. You press the bundles button, you buy the training, watch the training videos. This stuff is on. This stuff about training, the basic security and privilege sets and things like that, that's all over the certification test, right? We're going to cover that in great detail in our certification training, but it's important to keep that in mind. So this is each user name, and then a password, then a privilege set. And some of them are turned on, off, and it can be a long list. And imagine setting this up for every file. So you have to set up this for 50 times or 80 times or 100 times every file. So that kind of sucks, right? And so what is single sign-on? It's a service that allows users to authenticate once, then repeatedly access FileMaker solutions without relog on. SSO is broader than just FileMaker, but we're just talking about it in the world of FileMaker today because I'm not to train you on everything else, right? I'm not a Microsoft IT guy. I'm not going to have that conversation. But you could log into your calendar and mail and all sorts of other stuff with your single sign-on. We're just talking about that service, using it to log us into FileMaker. FileMaker users and admins hate managing multiple passwords on multiple solutions. That long list gets really, you take that long list and multiply by 100, it gets unwieldy. It's really rough, difficult to deal with, right? The other thing is that FileMaker doesn't support high quality two-factor authentication, right? Once again, your phone, send my phone to code or send the code to my email or whatever you're doing, right? Whatever two-factor you want to do. So let's talk about the behaviors that people do so we all understand this. So we always talk the progression of learning. Like, so when you're a brand new basic FileMaker developer, you just want it to work, you want to share it with your team. First thing you do is create a username and password. You share the same username and password with your team because there's only 3 of you or 5 of you, and you all trust each other not to try to bankrupt the company, right? And so then after a while, the password has to be changed. Someone gets hired, someone quits, someone dies in a horrible bus crash, and so, or someone shares the password by accident. So everyone's sharing the same password is just bad. So then you realize that's an issue. Everyone suffers. You need new credentials, right? So the next thing that goes on is that, well, everyone's not going to share their credential. We're all going to set up individual credentials in all the files, which is once again that screenshot, right? You know, the nightmare becomes to manage that. Once again, we're back to this. So how do we get away from this? And the idea is that we move to single sign-on, right? So each user sets up an account. In this case, we're going to talk about Microsoft Azure. We set up a parent account. We're going to go through that, whether we do that today or not, but you have a parent account for your company, and then you get each of your staff a login, and they go in, they put their username and password, their username, their name, their phone number. They do a verification that's their phone, their cell phone, or iPad, or mobile device, or whatever they're doing for the two-factor. Or you could turn two-factor off. You don't have to use it, but I would recommend probably using it. And then once they do that, the database administrators are going to go into the Azure system and set up groups. So you have a group like salespeople, and then you have your 5 or 8 salespeople, or maybe you have a senior database engineer and they can do certain things, and a junior database engineer and they can do certain things. And so you set up these groups. So you're going to set up groups on the Azure side. Those groups mirror what's in FileMaker, right? And so it's really quite simple. It's really great. And so when you're in FileMaker, all you're going to do is set up 3 or 4 groups of people, or 2 groups, or 1 group, and give them their one privilege set, and you're done. Then you manage all the rest of it online on a web interface with Azure. And if someone, you know, everyone has their own username and password. If that person gets hit, they get let go, they quit, you can go into Azure and just remove them. And you don't have to make any changes to FileMaker. You remove them on the front end side, on the authentication side, and they can't get the FileMaker anymore. Or you change their password, right? Because they lost they had their post-it notes on their desk, and the post-it note got away, and now it's out in the wind, and some people get into it, so you can change the password. But it's one password, and it handles all their FileMaker login traffic, right? They log in, they prove to Microsoft who they are. Hi, I'm Richard, or hi, I'm Ed Burkle. I'm Ed. I'm doing this fire inspection stuff. And yes, it's Ed. We bless you, Ed. So since we know it's you, Ed, then everywhere where you've been added to a group, then you get to get into that database. And it just handles it automatically. It's really wonderful, right? So you have different privilege sets, different groups. So here is the diagram. I'm going to move myself out of the way. So this side over here is the Azure side, okay? So you're going to be a web interface. Each of these people have their own record. They log in, they can see themselves. And then the administrator, us, the person who's managing the databases, is going to put them in a group, a senior database group or a sales group or a whatever group, or maybe administrative management group because they have more power and capabilities. Because this group here is going to match to a group we create over on the other side, and the group over here is basically on the FileMaker side is a privilege set. So basically we're setting up a privilege set for these people. But on the Azure calls it a group, and then it's going to mirror across and match a group name. It's just a group ID. It's like a UID. Here's your group name, right? That's all you have to do. And then that's going to basically map to a privilege set. So all you have to do is set up 4 or 5 privileges or 2 privileges or whatever, and those will each have a group. You're done on the FileMaker side. You're totally done. It makes things so much easier. So, Jacob Taylor, we do have people kind of popping up some questions here. We want to peel off any of these along the way.
I have the Discord questions. Are there others on Twitch?
No, just the Discord ones right now. There's no questions anywhere else.
I see Ruben's one, and we just got another.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is... This is how large company IT... This is NJ. The university I work for uses this, so every application web service you have access to use the same credential system. Yeah, so NJ from Australia, who's made some really awesome demos for us here, he says they're using that. Yeah, you're in the marketing group. Stu says, how do you handle a person who is in a different group in a different application? IG, FileMaker app, reading and read only.
Read only in another.
Because, well, it's the same as it is now. That person already has a privilege set. He's attached to a privilege set. So in one file, he's attached to one privilege set. In a different file, he's attached to a different privilege set, right? Because the privilege set is specific to the FMP12 file, right?
Yeah.
So,
and so if you have users like that where they have they're full access on one because like let's say they're an administrator, they do accounting or something for the business, and so they're going to have full access to their own database. Fine, but maybe they only need to read the data in the sales database. That would be a really good example. So you're probably going to have 2 different groups in that case. One will be full admin on, back-end databases, admin stuff, accounting, what have you. And then you might have another one where you're going to have a group of people who need to read the sales data but not mess with it.
Yeah.
Versus putting that person, and it's kind of what you're getting at in your question, versus putting that person in a global administrator group, which, might have full access to all files in the company or something like that. You might put your management team on there.
Well, actually, I think the way the groups are set up, the groups are individual per file, right? Wouldn't they be? Or would they be?
But you can plug each group into multiple files.
Yeah.
And then you have your little like cascade of privilege levels or whatever.
Yeah, you can set up a sales group here. And remember, the group, all it is a UUID that Microsoft's going to give you in Azure. You're going to come over here. You could put the group into like your invoices file and then an inspections file. You could put the group in several places, right? So basically what you're going to have to do is something that no different than what we do now is understand the different roles within the organization. It just makes the management so much easier, right? And Jacob's going to demonstrate this, right? So I think, Stu, we're going to demonstrate this. You should start to get it. Ruben says, curious how Microsoft would do SSO sign on with a newer login without a password feature. I'm not sure I understand Ruben's question. Someone was laughing at it, so it's a joke. I don't understand the question.
Microsoft, is that like the what do they call that? The word Windows Hello is the old name for it. Is that what you're talking about, Ruben? I'm thinking of they have like face auth and stuff like that for your Windows desktop computers. I don't know if that's what he's asking about, but if it is, then it would work the same way. Actually, no, those would be orthogonal because the local Windows login stuff, your Windows computer is either going to be chained to a local Active Directory server, or I think you can plug them into Azure AD as well. And in that case, it'll basically be native. You'll face auth into FileMaker or something.
Right. So Ruben, you're asking a question that's off out in the weeds.
No, this is their app. Users away from passwords. Sorry, scanning this on there.
Okay, regardless of what, Microsoft's not going to get rid of Active Directory. The point is that we're using Active Directory as the front-facing thing. If you're going to do facial recognition, or you're going to drop your pants and show your camera your butt and have it identify that, right? It's not going to matter. Active Directory is going to do the SSO, right? Whatever that criteria process is, right?
So yeah, and specifically to Ruben's question, this will work just fine because it doesn't have anything to do with it's the thing that we're using, yes, but it's orthogonal. So what this will let you do is like Richard, when we were setting it up for you, we set up the SMS text codes, for example. They have an app as well that you could run on your phone. If they kind of guess or know, oh, you just logged in and that's the same IP address or whatever, they kind of have an idea that it might be you. They'll just prompt it on your app, for example, and then you don't put the password in, you're already signed in, and you just approve the login. And so it's tap and you're done. Cool. Kind of how 360 Works Dude demoed it.
Why don't we jump to your screen then and run through a demo of where we're at.
A sign up.
Let's go through the whole process here. So I'm going to minimize myself. So here we are. We're on your screen. So walk us through this, Jacob. What do we need to do?
Perfect. So what we're looking at is basically our email inbox here. We spun up one of our other domains that we'll go live with at some point here. But we just set up email on it for demo purposes, basically. And so I have my inbox here, and they're welcoming my account to email. And then we have to sign up for Azure. What's cool about the Active Directory specifically, like that individual component in Azure, is basically it's one of the ones that's apparently free forever. Like other kind of authentication things, they consider it to be, gravy for the rest of the system or whatever, or maybe it's a really good way to suck everybody in, and then we end up with $1,000 a month Azure bill at some point in the future. And then Microsoft was really happy that they gave it away for free. I don't know, but as far as we can tell, Azure Active Directory, like if you're doing this, basically, if that's the only service from them that you use, it's free forever. And so we'll set up a free account here, and I think they'll ask us for a card. I did that last time when we did this, but it's not strictly speaking necessary. They're not going to charge you money. So
setting up so this is kind of the end-to-end process we're doing here. So
yeah, and I'm just going to note the reason I have all these tabs open up here at the top is frankly because in kind of classic Microsoft style, you have to click 7 different times to find the actual sign up button. And so I've kind of done that. So you click the obvious link up here, which is this one or that one, and then you end up, register my free account, and you're like, let me go, and it tells you how to onboard your org, and that's not what you need. What you actually are looking for is this thing. Basically, you're signing up for this individual service. The other part is if you click start free, you end up on this page, which also doesn't start you free. And then if you keep clicking, you end up here again. And so eventually, if you get to something like this page, AzureMicrosoft.com free, i.e. we're signing up for a free account. If you do that, you will end up with an actual Azure sign up page. So in this case, we're going to create an account because we're not signing into an existing one. And then let me go remember. That's right. OAuth demo at smsarc.com. And so basically, we're just signing up for a Microsoft account here. Do a really ugly password. I'm going to hate myself for this in 10 minutes, but do that. Cool. What's my birthday today, everybody?
May 25th.
May 25th? I like May 25th. Let's do March, April, May
25th. And then what?
You got a favorite year? 1972? 87? We can do 87.
87. That'd be closer to your actual age. When were you born? 87, 90? Probably around
No, 90. Yeah. All right, so we'll do that. We're going to verify the email. Awesome. I do not want any of your spam. I'm going to come over here. We're going to click our lovely refresh button. Never been done before.
So yeah, David points out that when you're doing enterprise level setups, everything gets a lot more complicated. Labo's link there, I can click on it. Let's see. He's talking about the LDAP plugin. Query LDAP or Active Directory servers to manage user accounts, right? So I guess you could write a query to talk to the Active Directory LDAP, which is an on-prem directory. I don't think it's the cloud Azure service. Once again, that's a different. We're not doing on-premise Active Directory, which is the classic product that Microsoft has had in the field. I mean, this goes way back to the 90s, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize this screen here real quick and cover something I needed to cover anyway. I'm going to go and minimize you out, Jacob. You're off. Well, you're still there, but minimized. And that is, we have created a PDF right here to kind of go through this process. What we found historically here with Claris is that they've got lots of little bits of incomplete documentation that's kind of everywhere. So this is a PDF that Claris has, and what we ended up doing is, I'm going to move this over here out of the way, is that we went through and started making notes and changes about this document and how it's relevant to FileMaker Server. So Jacob's following these instructions in here basically. And what we did is that we found that the links that Claris had put out on different things, including a link to this document right here. So incomplete directions here. So you can click on these links. These are the links that Claris has in their documentation. They don't have a single master block of truth. What do you call it? A single source of truth, right? Jacob Taylor, something Jacob talked about. They don't have that. They have these documents that are generally, maybe they thought were complete at the time, but they were never maintained, and so you end up with these incomplete documents. The other thing that you're going to run into with this, which is why historically I've never used it, right? It was a couple competing things. One, Claris and bugs and not testing their stuff, and two, these various services using different terminology. And I thought this was maybe a Claris issue, but Jacob, you've run into issues where Microsoft has been changing the terminology on some of this stuff, even over the last several months, right?
Yeah, they just did a big rename recently that threw even all the people that are in Microsoft stuff and do all that all day. They're like, oh, and then they have to learn all the new names for everything. So
right. And so there's like there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 terminology names that we need to know about. You'll see a terminology here that's typically either Claris terminology and or Microsoft terminology. And they may be closely similar, they may be the same, or they might be radically different, right? So you've got a, like, for example, client secret value, aka Azure key, right? Claris calls it Azure key, and Microsoft and Azure calls it the client secret value. That's the kind of that makes me want to scream and go running from the building, right? Never to use this stuff because it's just ugly. It's, once again, never, Active Directory was never intended for power users, only for serious network administrative admins, right? And yet here we are kind of putting our toe in the hot water. Can we swim here, right? Is it too hot for us, right? Jacob, are you ready to continue on here?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna double click you and let you continue on. But this PDF we've given everyone, so we are verifying our email. Is that what we're doing?
Yep.
Hopefully it didn't go too far. So what are we doing? We're setting up our Azure account, okay?
Yep. Please solve the robot. I'm going to be a robot. I'm picking a monkey. Hey, look, everybody, we can pick a monkey.
Yeah,
beautiful.
They're new.
Yeah, I had to pop Safari open so that it would comply with my requirement.
Okay. All right, so now we're putting in that. Once again, this is not our individual not really.
So this is like we're spinning this up for the first time. So this is our org account.
Yeah, our main administrative person account, our org account.
I'll put my, whoops. Why did I pick autofill? Don't ever do that. Use a different phone number. No.
Okay, that's
text me. I can text myself. Yeah, that's our address, and then we'll go and we'll pick our state.
Which actually, yeah. Okay.
Text me. Sorry, we do not. Oh, I have to broadcast my cell phone number on live television. Nice.
Well, why don't you scroll? Yeah. How about I move it off the screen? Want me to do that real quick? Okay, you're off the screen. You're off the screen. You can do it. Let me know when you're done.
Yeah, they don't support it. That's awesome.
Yeah, they want your because a lot of our engineers put Google numbers
Yep, that's
Front
exactly
facing.
that's what I did. Yeah.
Front facing, because Jacob doesn't want Ken calling him at 2 in the morning when the server blows up. It's like,
If you call me at
Jacob, wake up, fix my
Yeah, if you
server.
call me at 2 in the morning, you'll have a really exciting 2 in the morning, and it won't have anything to do with why you're calling me. 6-3. All right, verify. Wonderful. Okay. We're good to go. I'm agreeing to the customer agreement and privacy things. I also don't want Microsoft to share my things. Fantastic. We're going to do next.
Yes. All right. So David Angel did ask the question, are you going to be able to mix SSO with native FileMaker users? Yes, you must do that for best. It's actually a test question, best practices. Jacob, are you still doing your thing for a little bit? You want me to cover this? I can cover this. So real quick,
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
on the FileMaker side of things, it's important to understand that if I go into FileMaker and say I'm just going to open up the CMS. This is where we schedule this really horrible graphical interface where we schedule the upcoming broadcast, right? Like Batman's going to be here on Wednesday with us working on this event on Wednesday. So if I go to File and I go to Manage and I go to Security, you're going to see these are the list of usernames. It's not the most greatest thing for me to show you all the usernames here. But what we're going to do is that these are the usernames and there's a matching password for this, right? And so we have things that we're testing in here, whatnot. These are what we call FileMaker File or External Server. External Server is on-premise Active Directory, the LDAP, the on-premise Active Directory. So it's the stuff that we definitely don't use. You need to understand that that is a thing. If we added, if we wanted to go to, let's say, hey, let's take a look at Microsoft Azure, we come over here, and this is where we would say the account name is, let's see, it's not a group, we'll talk about this, but it's a group. We'll call it marketing, right? Except that we need to put in the actual ID number. So we're going to get this ID number from Microsoft. It'll be a UUID that'll match this, right? Oh, that is right there, okay? And then what you might want to do is a description over here, say this is the marketing group, right? That's all you have to do, basically, right? And so the group comes in here, whoever's part of that group, which we're going to set up on the Microsoft side. So think about this. To get into the FileMaker file, FileMaker is going to attempt to authenticate either here, and then it'll attempt to authenticate here, okay? Now, how does this work? This works because it is a cloud service. This is Azure AD, Active Directory. It's in the cloud. It's going to go to a data center. It'll authenticate us and then let FileMaker Server know. This is the best practices part, okay? Jacob knows where this is going to go. But what people do is that they say, aha, we're going to use this. We're not going to use this anymore because I don't want to manage everyone's, because everyone, Brian, Maria, and Hank, and David, and Jacob, and Calvin, and Haley, and Nick, Hunter, right? All these people, they're going to be over in Azure. So they're not going to have individual over here. They're going to be part of whatever group, and they're going to log in over here. Maybe a UI group for Nick or a special admin group. So 2 or 3 groups, right? And then you're done. But for this to work, you have to have internet access. So what if the server is in the office and you're in the office and for some reason Azure has an outage or the internet goes down? There's no way to get in here because you have to get to the internet, go to this Azure server, authenticate, and then come back in here. Even though this server could be actually on your desk, physically on your desk next to you, you can't get in. Well, then you're going to go over here. Except what if you removed all these? Right? What if you removed all these? Then you can't get in at all. And so what the best recommendation is that you create at least this account, the admin account, whatever your main administrative account, you're going to leave this one in here so you can still get in even if your online single sign-on system goes down. Does that make sense? Right? So that's a very important, that is a best practices test question, okay?
Yep.
So, yeah, read-only access. Yeah, we don't want Nick in there making changes. I don't think I made that change. Margaret probably did that, so. Anyway, that's kind of funny.
So he can see stuff. Yeah,
he can see stuff, but we can't change the. Yeah, we don't want Nick changing the broadcast schedule just because he feels like he wants to talk about something else. Yeah.
He wants to suddenly spruce up the database. He'll make it like the new FileMaker starting point.
So that makes sense. We talk about that. So yeah, you can. Not only can you, Stu, we want you to. Right.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. It's like if the only way into your house was through some sort of online, that doorbell stuff, and you wave the card and whatever, and that's all internet service. So if the internet goes down and you wave your ID card at your door, can you get into the building anymore? Can you actually physically get into the building? Well, the internet's down, so you can't authenticate, so you can't walk in your house. So you're stuck outside forever unless you're going to take a chainsaw and cut a hole in your front door. Most of you don't have chainsaws, so you better actually still have a metal key that can kind of go in the hole and you turn, right? That's your, not necessarily your back door, but that's your alternative method of entry, right? So just saying. All right, cool. Jacob, we're going to jump back to you on our merry progress here.
We're here. The only thing that you guys didn't see was me putting in credit card details, which you don't need to see anyway, so it's fine. And so,
but we're not going to be charged. We're not going to be charged.
We've correct. Yeah. It's spam elimination, or what
because Microsoft wants you to buy a virtual machine like a server. They want you to buy some other web app. They want you to buy SQL database. They want you to do this all this stuff. The Azure stuff is a trivial peripheral. It's like the whipped cream and the cherry on top of the cake. We just need the whipped cream and the cherry. But Microsoft wants us to buy the cake. But we already have the cake. We got FileMaker, right? So, all right. Keep going.
Yep. So, we landed on the backside. We're good here. There's also a lovely, confirmation your Microsoft account's waiting. We got a nice little email from Microsoft welcoming us.
Great. With a picture of
so
a family sitting together, as if that's relevant.
Correct. Because we're a family sitting together currently. That's correct. Yeah.
So now,
sorry.
So where'd we go? We're in the Microsoft Azure Portal. Is that where we're at?
Yeah, I call it the portal. I don't know if there's an official terminology for this.
It's called Portal.
Yeah, that's why. That's why I call it Portal, because you start typing Portal into your address bar, and that's what comes up. So this is our welcome screen. There's all kinds of cool setup stuff that you can do. We don't actually need to do any of it right now because we're gonna do the basics for getting our FileMaker server plugged into this. So searching all subscriptions. Oh, nice. So I'm gonna do Azure AD.
There it is. Freeze for a second. Don't press anything. This is where one of those screens that reminds you. This is where remember Amazon AWS came up with their big cloud services and all this thing, and they have this menu and it looks like this. And then Microsoft said, wait, we want to be part of that too. We're going to create a Zune audio controller player. So this is Microsoft's desperate attempt to chase down AWS as AWS runs away with most of the market, right? With cloud services, right? But if you look at these, they'll remind you of a lot of almost AWS-y kind of things, right? Right? Very interesting, right? So anyway, I just thought I'd point that out. Very cool screen. Lots of cool stuff to play with. Most of it costs money.
They have a ton of services, honestly. And they're competing with Amazon for some of the big contracts. So yeah, Ruben says bad UI. Yeah, that's correct. And none of these panels are like amazingly easy to use. And that's how I find my whatever. No. It's like they're written for people like me who are like, I know exactly what service I'm looking for. Let me type in the search box.
Yeah.
If you're trying to do like, what does this thing offer as far as services goes? I don't know. Go read the blog or something. Like, stay out of the panel because you're gonna get lost.
All right, so here we are. So this is an important part. We're on the Active Directory and the default overview. Okay, right?
Yep. And so so we mentioned a couple terminologies here. This is our tenant ID. This is our directory ID. That's one of our little key numbers. Registering new apps. So that's where we're at. We went to step 1 and logged in. This is going to be our tenant ID. So I'm going to copy this and set it off to the side. Paste it. Tenant ID. Perfect. All right. So I got that on my other screen. Thank you all. And so what is our next? Yeah, there you go. See? And so there are was it Ruben or somebody? Oh, David Angel, yes, said in Discord over here, for normal Azure AD, which is what we're using, you don't have to pay, but for businesses over certain thousands of users, it was from the previous live stream. I haven't found the page about this. There's some sort of object limit is the actual thing, and we'll get into what an object is. in a very quick way shortly, but it's like your number of users times your number of groups times whatever. It's like a multiple of all the things that you have, and so over a certain number, it costs money. Basically, that's how they do it. And so if you're a large business, you may actually have to write a check here just because you have that much stuff.
Okay.
For somebody like us and for most of our customers, this is free for life as far as we can tell. So. All right, so
according to PDF, it says app registrations. We need that.
So we're going to app registrations. Perfect. So we're going to make our first app. And Richard, what is an app?
An app, actually, this is one of those moments where I really, really, really hate. And we talked about the terminology back here in this PDF a little bit. A application, actually, I don't even know if it's actually put in here. Right here. Application is an app ID, aka Azure Application Client ID. This is a integration with a specific FileMaker server. Okay, everyone hear me? FileMaker Server. If you have 5 FileMaker servers, then you'll have 5 FileMaker applications you create. Okay, what if I have 10 files on each server? How many application IDs am I going to have? 5. It's 1 per server, and you'll see why this is. But let's just assume today that most of you have a single FileMaker server, so you're going to have a single application ID. Okay.
Yep. So, oops, I don't want to pin that dashboard.
I'm scrolling through over here.
Yeah, perfect. So we're going to make a new one, right? Yeah, we're going to do a new. We're making an app. We're going to say, FileMaker SSO demo.
Okay.
And then we're going to pick that, single tenant?
Yep. Which is
top one.
Wherever that's at over here. Yeah, keep going. I'm listening.
One of the screenshots. Yep.
Yeah.
And then the one thing on this screen that is not straightforward, and I'm just going to tell you all what it is, and we'll kind of explain why in just a minute, is this thing. So a key part of this entire flow, right? It's a single sign-on. There's a thing where Azure, FileMaker Pro, and FileMaker Server in this case, ping little tokens back and forth so that everybody can validate. FileMaker says, hey, I need to sign in. Azure says, oh, someone needs to sign in. You sign in, and then Azure can attest to you having successfully logged in. We don't actually need to know your password. It's not sent to FileMaker Server, none of that stuff.
Okay.
Azure's got a little chain over here that just says, hey.
So let me do this one more time for everyone here. So I'm going to say it differently. Jacob did fine, but I'm going to say it a different way. So I'm going to open up a FileMaker file, and we're just going to talk about the sequence of events that's going to happen here. So we're on this dialog right here that we see on screen, right? Everyone sees it right here, okay? And there'll be another thing on here that's down below says sign on, Microsoft, whatever, okay? We're in FileMaker. FileMaker has to reach out to Microsoft to the correct account. So somewhere in FileMaker Server, we're going to have to tell it how to specifically identify itself and find the Microsoft account. Then Microsoft is going to validate you, which you're going to see. And then Microsoft has to know who the hell to send the data back to, right? And so we have to think about it like a URL location where FileMaker Server has to send it to the correct Microsoft location and then back. Does that make sense? So each of them have to know about the other one. It's going to be some sort of secret UUID that goes one way or the other way. And so so understand that that's an important concept right here. So once we said an application is the FileMaker Server, I'm going to zoom in here, everyone. Very important, okay? This is the landing page for a specific FileMaker server. This happens to be my personal test server. That's in my, actually on premise, it's a Mac server. We're playing with a Mac today. Works equally well on Mac and Windows and should be Linux as well. So, but this has to be it has to be the address for your server. And the next question that you folks are going to ask me is, do I have to have a DNS or domain address attached to my server? Yes, you have to have a DNS entry, a domain like Ruben's super amazing FileMaker service or .com or whatever he would call it, RubenSpecial.com or KensBalloons.com or whatever.com. And then OAuth, this is the directory into the FileMaker server. Once again, this whole thing is part of this account. It's an application API, but the application is for the whole server. So the word application is, again, a grossly overused and misused terminology in the tech business. And that's why I hate it when Claris goes, oh, we want to do apps, we want to do apps, we want to do apps too. We're going to call them apps too. Never mind that every other jack on the planet has their own definition of what an app is. Sorry.
And would you check the PDF to make sure I got that address right now that we've shown it?
Yes, hang on.
I want to make sure I didn't reverse the redirect and the OAuth.
Okay, it's it's OAuth lowercase, redirect lowercase.
OAuth redirect. Perfect. All right, I got it. Awesome.
I have HTTP. Okay, on the website here, I have HTTP is HTTPS though, right?
Yes,
so this is actually I need to be an S right here. So those of you keep that in mind. Okay.
Beautiful.
All right.
Now it's flawless and up to date.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool. Keep going.
So we named it. The only setting, and we don't even change this one, is to set it as single tenant. And we're not dealing with any of the rest of the stuff out here because it doesn't matter at all. We're just going to create these users within this Microsoft Azure AD account thing, and those will be the users. That's it. And then the groups, and we'll walk through that in just a minute. So our final setting is the redirect URI. We've set that up. This will be something like this with your FileMaker server address. The primary difference will probably be the actual domain name itself. But the rest of it, HTTPS, yes, /OAuth/redirect, also yes. That'll be the same on your server. So we'll hit register. So we have our demo application. Amazing.
Now this is very important. Once again, all this terminology here, this is the Microsoft side terminology, which actually, according to Jacob, recently changed. This terminology generally won't match what we have over here. So we put the terminology conversation 2 spots here. We have it up here at the top. So we have application client ID, which is that one right here. This is the second one. Then you have the object ID, which is, I don't even know if we use that one or not.
That's the group.
Yeah, but we haven't defined a group yet. Maybe that's the default one.
No, correct. Yeah. That object ID is the object ID of the FileMaker SSO demo app.
Okay.
Which it's a detail. Yes, we don't use it.
Okay, so detail, we don't use it. Then we have directory ID, which is this is your company's collection of users. This is our overall ID for us, kind of in general, if that makes any sense.
And it does. So 2 of the 3 things that we'll need to plug into FileMaker Server are currently on the
so I'm
screen.
going to fast forward over here on the power my PDF. I'm going to go down to the part where I'm jumping ahead, but there's a spot where we have to load this crap on the FileMaker server, and there's a screenshot here. Here it is. This is the FileMaker server. I jumped ahead, but this we're going to need the application ID, which is this one right here. And that one's going to go, of course my arrow won't go any farther, that one there. And then there is the directory ID, this one right here, I think, right? And I think that one goes down there. And then there's a secret one. This is a secret password, like a token, and that's what we're going to stick into that one, right? So this just gets FileMaker Server to understand that there's FileMaker Server and the Microsoft servers to talk to each other. We're not talking about the groups yet down in the file level. We're not talking about that yet. This is the 2 servers talking to each other. Okay, cool.
Yep.
All right, keep going.
So the one thing that we're missing there is that third one, that client secret value. So we'll just make that now. And you all can see over here, we've got on the right side, client credentials. That's where this goes. And you say add a certificate or secret. So we're going to do that.
Oh, okay, back. I think it was off the side. Can you do that? Go backwards.
Yep.
Okay, do it again. Where were you at? You were hitting which?
We're going to So you can do it on the left side. There's a menu. Oh yeah, you can see my mouse. Awesome. So so there's on the left side if you want to click over here. That menu, it's the same thing. But also there's none in here right now. You see how this one has a count. We have 1 redirect. We set that up already. And then for this thing, that's what we're going to do. We're going to add a client secret.
Okay, cool.
So I'm going to click that. It's going to take me over here, and it's going to load me on this lovely landing page that has nothing. So we're going to say new client secret. We're going to write a description, which will be like FileMaker Server client secret. I'm sure that's super descriptive. That it doesn't show up anywhere, so it's just for accounting purposes or whatever. The only annoying thing about this right here is that these secrets can only last 2 years.
What's custom? Did we even see custom yesterday?
Yes, it's in there. It doesn't.
Oh yeah,
But that's
see
the,
it. See
but that's the
that?
problem right there.
It
2 years.
Yeah, it limits to 2 years. And
Yeah.
here's the thing: in this PDF over here, when you look at the original Claire's PDF, there's an option for this to be forever, and it never goes out of
Infinite.
date, right?
Yeah.
It wherever that went.
Permanent, or I don't remember what the word they used was, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's does not expire basically.
it doesn't expire; it goes forever, right? So it's 24 months over there. So anyway,
Yep. Which would be
okay.
lovely, but we don't.
So in 24 months, what are we gonna have to do? Come back and renew this, or what do we do?
Yeah, probably make a new one basically.
Okay.
Won't require any. Let me think about that.
You
What
just
do
have to
we
put it in
to
the
do?
server,
The
the FileMaker,
client?
update the FileMaker server, right? Update
Yeah,
it
the
here.
client secret will change.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so we'll hit add. It's going to add that.
So
We now
once
have our
again, this
token.
is a server-specific setting. So now, what we're at is super important. This is one of those moments like at Amazon where it gives you your key pair, whatever that they call it, the key pair, whatever it is. And this data right here will never be shown to you again. If you don't write it down from here, you can never come back and get it, right?
Yeah,
You'd have
you'll
to
have to make
delete
a new
it.
one.
You have to delete it and create a new one. And so
Yep.
you need to bring this up and copy these over.
So I'm going to do the value, and that's it. I don't actually need the secret ID. You can copy that down if you want, but the value is what you're looking for. The client secret value is what goes in the FileMaker Server admin console. So. And then there's one thing. So most of this stuff you can click through, right? I've been clicking next, new, this thing,
Yep.
whatever. And shortly after this, we're going to do the groups and the users, and then either call it and can pick up tomorrow, or what we'll make that decision shortly.
Yeah.
There is one basically annoying modification that has to be done here, and it involves going into what's called the manifest. So we're looking at the client secrets right now. So I'm going to go back off of that. If I scroll all the way up to overview. So this is our app, right? This is the app that we said it goes with our FileMaker server.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one thing that's necessary to like enable. We'll do a little time travel here and say that we're all the way forward. We've got a couple groups set up. They're plugged into files. We've got a couple users onboarded, right? Somebody's testing it. So what actually allows this whole thing to work, in addition to what we've already done and the two things we have yet to do, is letting Microsoft look at the list of users in its own database and confirm that they're allowed to actually authenticate. I mean that as basically as it sounds. It's because it's not set that way by default, and we have to change it. So it literally does not do that out of the box. So you go click on manifest over here. So again, we're default directory. We're in the FileMaker SSO. This is the application, capital A application, that we made our client secrets with. We're going to come down here, click on manifest, and then we're going to be faced with this lovely giant chunk of JSON. And there's one thing that we have to do, which is, I think, change this one. What's the...
Hang on, it's group.
You got it?
I'm reading it off the PDF. Group memberships claims it's currently null.
There it is. Yeah,
And
so I've got it right here.
And we're going to change it to...
from null to security group?
With,
yeah,
in quotes. Yeah,
yep.
one word, capital S, capital G.
There it is. Just like that. You guys see that?
Right. So it's right here. We did it right here. And once again, this is why this sucks so much. I hate, let's go change the code. Like this to me is basically command line coding. And it's so like, oh, please. Can't you just like make it go? Anyway.
Or have an option when you make the app to say, hey, if you're going to sign in this way, this would require this permission. Do you want us to automatically upgrade it for you?
Yes.
Something like that would be lovely.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. So this is the only really amazingly persnickety thing that you have to do as part of this, other than keeping track of the different codes and copying them over.
And conveniently enough, this is only covered in one spot in Claris's documentation. All these other documents, including this PDF here,
omit it. Yeah.
Omit it. And now this document was originally made for their Cloud 2 users, but it's close enough that that's why we're hacking it to make it work with FileMaker Server, right? Makes sense.
Yep.
All right, so we made that change, and then
bring me back. Yeah. So, and then one thing about these interfaces, I have to call it out. You got to click save.
Yeah, they have
a lot of the Microsoft stuff. It's an explicit save step. If you click away right now, I actually don't know what it'll do. But if it doesn't ask you to save, then it did not. And so you may, not enter something you think that you did. So you'll hit save. It'll say updated. We now are on the back side of the save and the update, so we can see it saved here.
Okay. So
and then,
do we want to add a person, to this, or do we want to?
So do we want to do groups or users first?
We'll create a group. Let's create a group, and who here wants to be? Yeah.
So you guys see what I did up here, right? We're still on the portal. We were previously down here in the app registrations, and then we had this thing. So you select the app, right? And then so this is the down.
Okay, you're going really fast. Slow down there, Chief. So yeah, so this is we're on the home page, and then we go to
where's the manifest? Why did I already lose it?
It was under applications, right?
Yeah. This is groups. Okay. Home screen. Go back. Here's Azure AD. Here's our main directory. All right. I was going to show the app, basically the apps, the app registrations, and how to get back over. But so if you're on apps, here's our FileMaker SSO demo. We load it up. There it is. All right. So we made the manifest modification. That's down here over here on the left side. So I can click default directory, and that essentially takes us back to the home page of our Azure active
directory,
capital D directory. Yeah. And so now, there we go. Now we're on the home screen. We're looking at kind of the overview of our directory. So up here at the top, you have users and groups. After the things that we've done, these are the only things left to do that are not interacting with the FileMaker server. So we can go in, we click all groups. We've not made any groups, so we have no groups. So we're going to make a new group. And this is the only relevant thing here, and this is that when we made that manifest change to say security group, that's this right here. Okay. That's it. So that's what that means. So what group do we want? Sales? Who are we plugging in?
Let's do sales.
Sales. Let's do RCC sales. Yeah. Group name. Awesome.
Okay. Okay.
Go.
Okay, great.
All right. And so we don't have any members yet, so we're going to click a member. And can I do
myself?
Will it search? Yes, it will. Yeah, we didn't add the additional users yet, so we only have me so far.
Right.
So I'm going to do select, and we'll create this. We added one member, which is me. I added myself to the group. And so we have one group here, and we're going to go back and we're going to invite one user and then put them in the group too. So we have one group and two users, right?
Okay.
So I clicked homepage. We're going to go to users. We're staring at me because I'm the only one on here. We're going to do new user. And then
let's invite a user. Isn't that the best way to do it?
We invite the user? Yeah, I don't remember which way.
Yeah, invite was the better way to do that. So
Carlton, and then it's going to be Rick at. Whoops, I have to spell your name right.
Let me see. I don't even know if I have email on here.
Perfect.
Mail.
There's all that. Oh, 0 groups
Nope, I don't have
selected. So let's put him in the sales group. Perfect.
So this part's pretty straightforward. It's just users and groups. You just put a user in the group. And
just basically user info. You're like, writing out somebody's name and their email and stuff, and then cool. You don't change any of this stuff.
Okay.
What? Sorry.
Is my name, is that actually a functional email that you have over there, Rick at the one?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
It's an alias on the one that I already set up.
Okay.
So.
Okay, great.
And we're going to do invite.
Okay.
And then we'll invite the user. Dun, dun, dun.
Okay.
And so then we're going to have, what we have is, our user principal names are really funny, but you have two, basically this email account and this email account, and so we're both on the domain. So let's go, we're going to go to Safari, which is where our email is, because that's the browser I could get working. Awesome. So default directory has invited me to access the organization. Fantastic. And so we will go, I need to copy this. Actually, I can try it inside of Safari. That's a good idea. Let's do that. Thinking. Beautiful. Look at that. Yeah, set up my Microsoft.
So this is what your end users are going to see, right? So they're going to get this. Yep.
Right, and then I'm going to hold on. Where's my... Found it.
So you're going to create a password, put that in, I'm assuming?
Yep. Yes, did that. Sorry, I was going back and gathering the old one so I don't lose it. So we're going to have a really ugly password here.
Okay.
Microsoft says no. Let's try a shorter one. That's appropriate, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Oh, and then you need a country, don't you?
Great.
Apparently. Next. Verification code. Welcome to my free account. Welcome to my free account. Awesome. So there's got to be a new email.
There it is.
So there's our key code. We're going to come over here. I'm going to paste it. Privacy, terms and conditions. Sounds great. Or I don't know. I've just sold some future children, I believe. Yeah. Microsoft has them on loan.
Yes.
I don't know. I didn't read the agreement side. If they put it in there,
yes.
you know.
Yeah, no one reads the terms and conditions. I like it says almost there. You can always tell you have a long, slow process when it's trying to like be positive. Almost there, we promise.
The computer's optimistic.
Optimistically trying to, get inside your psychological wellness. Okay.
Eric, it's awesome. Yeah. Do this to reduce the numbers times you are asked to sign in. Absolutely. Let's go with that. See, it's with the CEO's permission that I get to impersonate him on air.
There you go.
Right?
There you go.
So sign in, read names. So they'll get a permission thing like this. Mm-hmm. This will be different, right? This is all the details. So default directory, which is that's the thing that we just made on the other window, is asking for access basically to his newly created account. Mm-hmm. He's going to, as me, it's clicking the button, but it would be Richard doing it, is going to accept because you have to consent to give your data back basically.
Right.
And then once we hit this, it should just pop us through. I don't know that we're going to have access or what we're going to have access to, but
well, we basically we've created almost everything on the server side. Now all you have to do is go to the FileMaker Server side. So yeah.
Yep. And so we're logged in. We have our little Reckitt SMS art, beautiful. And so if I flip Windows back to our console, let's see. I don't think. Oh, creation type invitation. Can I refresh? What's this going to show me, if anything? Oh, nothing. Cool.
Yeah, but it's enabled, so I think it's ready to go.
So we're good. So basically, we have 2 users now, which would be sufficient for sign in. We have a group. We have the various keys and things written down that we need to have, and then the last thing was we made our manifest modification. The remaining things are basically to plug it into FileMaker Server.
That's what we're going to do,
and
we'll do that tomorrow. Probably the best way of doing that tomorrow. So I know this is like a lot to absorb, folks, but if you want to have, if you have a lot of users, a lot of FileMaker files, it makes sure if you just do a little suffering on the front end, you'll be happy in the long term because it makes the management so much easier to add people and remove to add a person or change their password or remove them or whatever. You don't have to touch FileMaker at all. You just go in here, you add a person, remove them, change their password, whatever they need to do. It's vastly superior for basic administration. So
yeah, as soon as you get over like a dozen people, it's going to be awesome when we roll, because we're a part of this, right? We're streaming it, of course. We're going to show you all how to do it, but the other part is some point shortly, actually, we're going to be rolling this out for RCC as well.
Yeah, we're eating our own dog food here, so we're not saying you use it, but
we're going to spend lots of time. Richard and some of the other management here at RCC and I are going to spend lots of time staring at this screen, the group screen, and then the user Actually, probably less at the user screen. It'll be a lot more groups.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because what you have to do is figure out what the different privilege levels of everybody are and how to like group that across the org.
Yeah, but we already have it on a per file basis, so yes, it shouldn't be that horrifically difficult.
We'll be replicating it.
So value, Stu says the value seems to be for multiple users under multiple apps. Yeah. If you have one server and one file and 10 people, there's no reason you really need to do this, right? But I've got, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 internal RCC servers and 30 plus staff. And on each server is multiple applications. It becomes real unwieldy, right? You know, and people get hired, people get hit. I've had people die on the job. I mean, all sorts of crazy stuff goes on, right? So, yeah.
Yep. And those will make it so that you basically go in, say default directory, we go to users, and then I can just kick off Rick, right? Like,
yeah, or say you must change
delete
your
him,
password
revoke
next time.
him.
Yeah, whatever.
Yep. Or reset his password if I wanted to lock him out. Yeah. Yep. So.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
And there's some other cool stuff that this goes with. So for example, like you can, I don't know if it's recent enough that it'll actually show me. Oh, it is. Nice. Wonderful. So you can see like sign-in details. So when people sign in, so he signed in, successfully signed up. Hey, there's my IP. Nice. And so we can click on that, and it gives me, I don't know what half of this stuff is, but it gives you all of the details, everything that Microsoft can collect about the sign-in. And so we're not going to do anything with this at the start, but if you are, tending toward a larger organization and you're beginning to look at, attack identification, or you have an internal security department or something like that, they will love stuff like this because they'll take these logs and pick through them and make sure people aren't logging in from, I don't know, you don't have any Indonesian employees. Why is somebody logging in from there, for example?
Yeah. Right.
or what? Pick your country that's not your own, and why is that happening? And then you can.
Yeah, credit cards do that all the time. You fly someplace and you use your credit card, some other other state or country or someplace, and they're like, "Hey, is this you?" Right. So, yeah, very important. All right, cool. Well, we're going to pick this up tomorrow, folks. I'm sorry, it's a lot to handle. We'll look lots of questions tomorrow. We're going to bring it all together. Please come back tomorrow and bring your thinking caps. We're looking forward to all of you being here. We greatly appreciate. Hello, everyone. I have to go up here and
Oh, you have like a hand over there. I see.
Hello. Right.
He's speaking.
Yeah, speaking. So, we'll see everyone tomorrow. Appreciate it. Awesome. Good one. Thanks. Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir.